Absolutely. Now, for us to officially start, kindly allow me to ask all of us to be upstanding for the national anthem.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you. We'd ask you to please remain upstanding for our prayers.
Ladies and gentlemen, our dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning. Lord, we thank you for this day. Thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you that this event is finally happening. Jehovah, Lord, we invite you to take over this event. May your presence, your protection, and your guidance be with us in all activities that take place in this summit. Lord, we surrender this summit unto you, and we pray that you will come and have preeminence. For it's in Jesus' name we do believe and pray.
Amen.
Amen.
All protocols observed. Good morning.
Morning.
Let's pray. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amen.
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 Thank you so much. You may now be seated.
While you're seating, we'd like to draw your attention to the screens for our official welcoming video.
Against platforms they don't control, with policies that weren't built for years. Edition by edition, Connected Africa became more than a summit. Where policy, innovation, scale, and partnership meet. Where startups met investors and scaled across borders. Now you arrive at a defining moment. Connected Africa Summit 2026. Uniting Africa's innovation for an inclusive digital market. Not just a slogan, a statement of intent. Because innovation without inclusion is incomplete. And growth without unity is unsustainable. For policymakers designing frameworks for 1 billion Africans. For startups ready to scale beyond their borders. For investors hunting Africa's next breakthrough. For anyone who believes Africa's digital future should be shaped by Africans. This isn't networking. This is nation building. One connection at a time. Connected Africa Summit 2026. Nairobi. At the Edge Convection. Welcome.
I believe at this point we could have a round of applause for that stage setting. Absolutely, and that's just setting the tone for what's going to be the discussion for the next 4 days, as you had earlier said.
Absolutely. You want to go ahead and do the introduction?
As we come to this particular point, of course, as we speak about it, we're now moving to our welcome remarks, where we'll hear from key leaders shaping Africa's digital transformation agenda.
Absolutely. And at this point, would like to invite the CEO of the ICT Authority of Kenya, Mr. Jesse Maruti, to deliver his welcoming remarks.
A round of applause for our CEO as he comes on stage.
The Principal Secretary, State Department of ICT, and Directors of ICT Authority, High Commissioner.
Good morning.
Honor on behalf of the government of Kenya and (2026). We are really deeply clear administrations advancing our this year theme, uniting Africa in directly and a competitive continent moment is evolving capacity and to act with clarity, coordination, strengthening and regulatory frameworks, and enabling seamless At the ICT Authority, we remained committed to supporting this vision through secure, interoperable, and resilient digital systems, risks, recommendations, and without trust, transformation cannot endure. This summit provides an important platform, not only partnerships and advancing implementations. The choices we make today will shape Africa's digital future for generations to come. Let us therefore move forward with unity, with resolve, and with shared commitment to building an inclusive our continent. I thank you and I wish you a successful summit. Karibu sana Kenya, feel at home. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome the Chair of the Board of ICT Authority, Honorable Lil Gong. Welcome, Madam. Thank you.
Honorable CS in absentia with other ministers from different parts of Africa, honorable ambassadors who are here with us, honorable PS who has joined us, men and women from this industry and from private sector, our delegates from representing different ministries, ICTA Board of Directors who are here with us, and all ICTA staff who've worked to make this day a success, and the ministry at large. Allow me to say good morning. Good morning. How are you? I just want to take this opportunity. It is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome you to the Connected African Summit 2026. This year's summit comes at a defining moment when our continent is experiencing steady growth in technological advancement, in adoption, utilization, and entrepreneurship and investment. Notable technological advancement which are shaping Africa's digital landscape in 2026, marking a shift from being primarily a tech consumer to becoming an innovation powerhouse, just to name a few from coast to coast. In Ghana, MTN and Huawei deployment of Alpha Antenna, which is the world's first large-scale intelligent system, which uses AI for real-time network optimization, increasing operational efficiency by 30. In Kenya, Safaricom unveiling Decode 5.0, a continental initiative connecting 8 countries through a shared interoperable AI infrastructure. Distinguished guests, investing in Africa's digital infrastructure, digital services, innovation, and research and development is essential to leapfrog traditional development, fostering a unified digital market, economic resilience, prioritizing public-private partnership, cloud-first policies, and AI skills for youth will close the digital divide and drive sustainable growth across the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's summit theme, Uniting Africa's Innovation for an Inclusive Digital Market, which calls on all of us to move Africa technological investment beyond national boundaries for the continent to compete in the global digital economy and realize its full potential of a single digital market by harmonizing regulation and infrastructure. Africa can transition from 54 fragmental economies into a unified powerhouse. Why Connected African and why now? Africa has the rapidly expanding demographic, homegrown solutions, and the market potential. What is required now is greater coordination to eradicate barriers, expand opportunities and market share, and enable seamless movement of digital services, trade, and innovation across borders. We therefore gather here today with a clear responsibility to create a continent, enabling environment where innovation can grow, investment can thrive, and citizens can benefit. 3 priorities deserving our attention include: 1, strengthening digital infrastructure and connectivity, supporting innovation and enterprise growth, and building practical partnership and collaborations. Over the next few days, we have an opportunity to exchange ideas, to connect with participants, and agree on practical steps that will strengthen Africa's digital future. I thank all our partners, all our speakers who are going to coordinate this, all our delegates, and organizers for making this summit possible. Your presence reflects a shared belief in what Africa can achieve together. On behalf of ICT Authority Board, I warmly welcome you and wish you a fruitful discussion, enjoyable and memorable stay at Nairobi, and a successful summit. Allow me to say, karibuni sana Kenya. To our guests from outside Kenya, feel free, feel welcome, and feel at home. Karibuni sana, we love you so much. Sorry. Allow me to take this juncture with a lot of humility to welcome our peers to address us. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Chair. Your Excellencies, the ministers, Your Excellencies, the ambassadors who are here, the Chair of the Board of ICT Authority, Honorable Lily Ngok, the board members of ICT Authority here, our guests and visitors and delegates of the Connected Africa Summit 2026 from over 47 countries, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. It's a great and special day for us to be here this morning. This is our 15th Connected series and the 3rd Connected Africa Summit. To put in perspective, the official opening of this Connected Africa Summit 2026 will be tomorrow morning, where we'll have some of our VIPs and delegations from across the continent will be here. Today, we are here to welcome you to this important event, and we are very excited to see all of you. Karibuni, Nairobi. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to the Age Convention Center for the Connected Africa Summit 2026. We are deeply honored to host you, this distinguished gathering of leaders, policymakers, innovators, development partners from across Africa and even beyond. I'm very glad to see some of our friends from across the globe, including ambassadors, technology companies, and the Friends of Kenya. Your presence here today reflects a shared urgent understanding. As digital transformation accelerates globally, Africa stands at a very critical inflection point. The decisions we make today and over this period of Connected Africa Summit will determine our continent's position in the future global digital economy. We gather at a defining moment across Africa. Innovation is driving governments. Innovation is thriving. Governments are digitizing public services. Startups are commanding global investment, and the demand for high-speed connectivity is growing each day. Recent research by McKinsey confirms this extraordinary potential, revealing that at the scale of deployment of generative AI alone, it could unlock between $61 billion and also $103 billion in additional economic value annually across the continent. This momentum is supported by the physical reality of our infrastructure, the aspiration of a deeply connected African continent. It's not just a promise, but it is an emerging reality. It is an installed high-capacity reality, extensive undersea network cables touching our various ports from East Coast, West Coast, southern coast and along the northern part of our continent. Inland, we have made significant progress in expanding terrestrial infrastructure through collaborative efforts across our partner states. We are driving digital transformation via national backbone infrastructure initiatives such as the National Backbone Infrastructure in Uganda, Rwanda's National Fiber Optic Backbone, South Sudan National Fiber Backbone, and Kenya's own digital superhighway. However, we must be candid. Despite these massive strides, there are still communities where fiber has not reached. There are still regions where connectivity remains unreliable, and citizens who remain digitally excluded. We also have witnessed moments where some infrastructure damage caused some regions to be in digital darkness. This is why some of the projects like Northern Corridor Infrastructure Project, with initiatives such as the Regional Broadcast Communication Satellite Communication Program, are vital. And also the other projects we are having, like the African Horn of Africa Gateway Program, touching on Kenya, Somali, Djibouti, and opening connectivity to the Kenya, East Africa, at the Red Sea through Djibouti, through Somali, and even through Sudan. These are some of the initiatives that we are very proud of as a continent. We've also had a project of East African Trade Facilitation Program that has seen laying of fiber through Kenya, through Eldoret, to the border of Kenya and southern Sudan, and we see possibilities of extending that all the way to the west coast. At the same time, we have fiber connectivity to our neighbors through Uganda all the way to South Africa. So we ask, why Connected Africa and why now? Because the next chapter of Africa's growth will depend entirely on our ability to move from isolated success stories into a single cohesive continental ecosystem. We have the opportunity to unleash a truly unified market of over 1.4 billion people, a borderless ecosystem where data, services, digital currencies flow as seamless as electricity across our borders. However, as we frame our discussions over the next few days, we must acknowledge a fundamental truth. Connectivity alone is not enough. For our digital ecosystem to truly thrive, they must be secure, inclusive, and built on trusted systems that protect our citizens and our institutions and our economies, and also reflects our interest of sovereignties as nations. Trust and cybersecurity are the absolute foundations upon which all our digital progress depends. We must adopt a philosophy of resilience by design, guaranteeing systemic baseline defenses embedded into our foundational architecture rather than relying on reactive security patching. As we build our digital public infrastructure and expand our data economies, we must establish strong governance frameworks that guarantee our digital sovereignty. These rest on three critical pillars. One, deploying sovereign digital public infrastructure. Secondly, enacting unified data governance frameworks and ensuring that critical infrastructure and computational power are hosted within the continent. We must ensure that our data is protected, that value is retained locally, and that systems remain sovereign, accountable, and resilient. The momentum is already with us. The African Free Trade Area Digital Trade Protocol presents unprecedented opportunity to unlock across our border commerce, simplifying market access, accelerate regional trade, and some of the key sectors like telecommunication, banking, public sector are some of the emerging frontrunners, proving that Africa is strongly positioned to lead in the digital age. To maximize this momentum, we must put our people at the core of this transformation. Africa possesses the world's youngest workforce, with over 60% of our population under the age of 25. We must build a future-ready workforce, foster guaranteeing inclusion so that no demographic section of our population is left behind. This summit thus provides us with a platform to exchange ideas and apply the integration framework, aligning our policies through coordinated legislative action, building collaborative partnership, learning from other regions, and providing opportunities between public and private actors, and also committing to a unified execution in our various countries. We must ensure that by the end of this gathering, we are not just aligned in vision, but have a clear, timely actions. Kenya remains steadfast in its commitment to work with all African nations and global partners to ensure that we build a connected Africa that is resilient, sovereign, and globally competitive. Once again, I welcome all of you to Nairobi. I wish you a very highly productive and successful summit. And we believe this platform will provide you a launchpad to the continent, a platform to connect with the rest of the continent, and also a platform to learn from each other as we engage. With those remarks, thank you very much, and God bless you. Welcome, Karibu.
A round of applause for our PS as he makes his way down. Fantastic speech, if you ask me.
Absolutely. And of course, when you speak about why Connected Africa Summit and why now, the answer is that Africa is best positioned to move forward. And even at this particular point, a hotbed of talent when it comes to tech talent.
I couldn't agree more.
The money is looking for where the talent is here, the innovation is here. And this is the time and indeed the space as well.
Absolutely. I remember when I was watching last year's, they were talking about data. We all have data, but it is stuck in different silos. Today, he's talking about ensuring that our data is protected and systems remain sovereign. That means we've somehow crashed down and stopped the silos. So we're able to access each other's data and we can work even better.
And the beauty about it is as we look at innovation, which will be a very key policy and what we'll be talking about as far as we move in these conversations, innovation, legislation really go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
So when we have the ministry here to speak to these particular issues, we know definitely in the right space to make sure the legislation isn't strangling the innovation as we move forward as a continent. And as we talk about that, we'd also like to acknowledge and extend our sincere appreciation to that particular policy driver and policy maker, the Ministry of Information Communications and the Digital Economy Kenya, for convening this summit and making sure we advance Africa's digital transformation agenda.
Absolutely. We also have to recognize and appreciate all our sponsors, all our partners and exhibitors who are currently present, because your support and collaboration is what has made this absolutely possible.
Actually, in particular, we'd also like to extend our gratitude to Safaricom, our title sponsor, for their continued support and commitment in driving innovation, connectivity, and across this particular continent, a lot of impact.
Absolutely. Now, for this day, we actually appreciate your partnership because it has been instrumental in building and bringing together not just ideas, but investments, solutions that will shape Africa's digital future.
Now, as our PS said, this is our welcome for the day. For the next 4 days, a lot will be going on, but already there's so much happening. We'll give you a quick lay of the land.
Yes.
On what has already started, it will be taking place across the day today. As we convene here in the ballroom, a lot will be taking place here, but several exciting activities are also taking place across different spaces in this summit as well.
Now, one of those is the cyber security drill simulation. The reason why I'm excited about this is because it allows you to see what a national cyber attack would actually look like and what we're able to do to ensure we ensure that we can take care of it as a nation and even as a continent.
We also spoke about talent.
Yes, we did.
Top talent. We have them in various rooms here. The creme de la creme when it comes to universities and what they can do when it comes to tech. We're actually having a cyber security contest happening as we speak, and we're bringing together the best as far as Kenya universities are concerned. They're having a virtual Capture the Flag challenge that is taking place all throughout the day today.
And trust me, that is something we're going to try. Let's see how good you and I and Liz are actually going to be at.
I'm not betting on this one. I'm not putting my money on this one.
Oh, but we must.
But we'll see.
We really must.
We definitely will see.
Away from that, of course, there's a series of visits and site visits that are showcasing real-world digital infrastructure and innovation. And our ministers and some of our partners have actually been there. It's happening in Mukuru kwa Jenga, it's happening in Konza Smart City, and it's also happening at Safaricom and Near Fiber.
Absolutely, and of course, we also spoke about innovation, and innovation is going to be a key pillar of our discussions this entire week. We do have an innovation bootcamp nurturing the next generation of African tech leaders. That also happening today, throughout the day as well.
Perfect. Now, for us to be able to understand how we're having this conversation today, would like to set the scene. Today, would like to welcome someone who will show us what kind of conversations are we going to have from today and next 4 days.
Okay, so let's please put our hands together and welcome Secretary for ICT, E-Government and Digital Economy, Ms. Mary Kerema, OGW, as she comes to set the stage and the scene for the next 4 days. Round of applause for her, please.
I think it's not showing. Okay. Allow me to write on the protocols already observed. And good afternoon. Is it afternoon? It's still morning. Good morning. Good morning. We sound very dull. I hope after this you'll be excited to go through our programs. Within a few minutes, I'm going to take you through what we are expecting for the next 4 days. So I want to set the pace or to set the scene. Yes, next slide, please. So why connected Africa and why now? For too long, Africa's digital story has been told in fragments. 54 markets, 54 policies, 54 approaches. But today, the world we are entering does not reward fragmentations. It rewards a scale, coordination, and clarity of direction. So therefore, that is why we are here, and this moment for the next 4 days matters for Africa. So this summit is not about applications, is not about platforms, is not about tools. It is about power. And therefore, we need to ask ourselves candid questions. If the issue is power, so the strategic question we need to ask ourselves, who defines the rules of the digital economy? The architecture question is, who owns the infrastructure? Sorry. Okay? So the delivery question we need to ask, who controls the data? And lastly, the value question is, ultimately, who benefits? So is it you? Is it me? So in the 4 days, we are going to answer these questions. and they are going to lead our conversations. And therefore, we are saying, if Africa does not answer these questions for itself, these answers will be defined for us. And it will be defined by others. And when others define you, they don't know you. So they will define you as they see you, rather than yourself defining yourself. So the summit will be in 4 days, and this summit will have conversations, but not fragmented conversations. There'll be conversations that are interconnected. In the first day, today, we are going to talk about trust and sovereignty. And this is really the foundations of our digital economy. And it's also setting the foundation of our summit, where we'll talk about cybersecurity in Africa and contextualize it to Africa. We'll talk about data protection and cross-border flows. We'll talk about digital sovereignty, a continental view. And lastly, we'll talk about trust frameworks for the digital trade. And we are saying trust is equal to currency of this digital age. So therefore, if there is no trust, there is no digital economy. Sovereignty is our signature. So if we don't have this signature, then we'll have no ownership of our future. So therefore, sovereignty, very key for us. The second day, we are going to have a discourse around infrastructure and DPI, the digital public infrastructure for Africa. We are going to have a discourse around artificial intelligence, AI, and I always say it is amplified intelligence and emerging technologies. We are going to look at our continental ambition. What are the opportunities and what are the guardrails that we need to put in place? We are going to have discussion around the government enterprise architecture and the government interoperability frameworks that define how government deploys systems. And therefore, you cannot leapfrog on soft ground. We need infrastructure, which is the bedrock. DPI is the blueprint for the digital services that are delivered to the citizens. The third day, we are going to have data and trade, where we are talking about Africa data space, the architecture, the data economy, and the AFC FTA, and these are the cross-border discourse that is going on. Then the cross-border digital trade in practice. We are going to have ministerial roundtables on digital trade, and we are also going to have platforms, payments, and the cross-border financial discussions that are also going on. So we are saying data is the new soil of Africa's economy. With no data, there is no intelligence. Without trade, there is no prosperity to share. So therefore, we need to have a discourse and a deliberate one around the cross-border trade, because therein lies the shared prosperity. The fourth day, we are going to have skills and the future. And on top of that is also inclusivity. So we'll have digital skills, we have discussions around inclusivity, discussions around innovation, startups, and investment. And lastly, the future of workforce in a digital Africa. Today, jobs are not found in the offices. Jobs are officeless. So wherever you are, we want to have a discourse how our populace will earn wherever they are. And so therefore we are saying, without skills, there is no pipeline. And without a future, there is no reason to build today. So if we have a reason to build today, the future is for us. And we want to say that it is not only the discussions that we are going to have, we are going beyond the plenaries. We are going beyond the breakaway sessions. So we'll have the ministerial tracks where we'll have closed doors for our decision makers to really have candid deliberation and ask the difficult questions. But at the end of that, they're gonna get an answer. And these answers will go down to the 2026 declaration. Africa, Connected Africa Summit 2026 declaration. The next, we'll have launches that will be done here. We'll have announcements that will be made. And key to these launches is the government enterprise architecture and the interoperability framework that is going to really define how Kenya, the government of Kenya, deploys digital transformation and digital solutions. We'll have breakaways for the women in digital, where we'll have plenaries where we'll recognize the women in Africa who have really shaped the digital economy. We'll have exhibitions where government, the industry, the startups, the innovators are going to showcase their products. We'll have inbound trade missions where we'll be able to curate the business to business and business to government meetings where deals will be signed. So make sure you don't leave Connected Africa 2026 without a deal. That's a bet, and I'll take stock after the 4th day if you have really made a deal. And lastly, today, there were field visits which have already been announced. There were people who are going to Konza. We've already visited the Mkuru wa Njenga, where we have the affordable housing and the digital hubs. So there will be programs running in parallel from today up to the 4th day. So make sure you can have the best of what we have for you. Sorry, I keep forgetting to flash this. Okay, so we are saying, we are saying today that what this week we must achieve so that we can have something to talk about for the Connected Africa Summit 2026. We should have clarity on Africa's position on AI, data, and digital sovereignty. We should have stronger alignment on digital public infrastructure and interoperability. We should be able to live with practical pathways to unlock the cross-border digital trade. And lastly, and most importantly, we must live with commitments that outlive this room. We have been saying that we've been having conferences, meetings, but it is time for action. So therefore, let this summit mark our starting for action. So I want to close by saying that we need to carry forward the spirit of Umuntu, Gumuntu, and Gabantu. And this really reminds us that no nation rises alone, no innovation thrives in isolation, and no digital future can be built without people at its center. And for inclusion, we are saying Africa must build its digital future that is inclusive, people-centered, and anchored in shared progress. Progress without people is hollow. And lastly, we are saying our strength, in the end, our strength will not be measured by how far we advance individually, but by how intentionally we rise together. And therefore, digital transformation is a leadership responsibility. And all of us seated here are leaders. Therefore, let's all take the mantle and lead the digital transformation of our nations. Our progress is collective. Our strength is shared. Our destiny is interconnected. Thank you very much, and I wish you a fruitful, connected Africa 2026, 4 days to come. And let it make a mark in your life. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause for Madam Karima, please. Really setting the stage for what the discussion will be.
What?
There we go. For the next 4 days, some critical questions that need to be answered. Who owns the infrastructure? Who owns the data? And how do we benefit from it? Who's really benefiting from that? Key questions that by day 4 should be answered right here. So before we move forward, I want us to do a quick game because we've heard a lot from this side, but I'd like to get a sense of the room as well.
Absolutely.
Cynthia. And this game called Put a Finger Down. So what we'll do at this point is raise one hand. Want your 5 fingers up. Okay,
don't
I'm actually
worry.
waiting for your hands
Well,
to go up.
we're going to show you how
This
to
isn't
do
a
it.
virtual exercise. It's as practical as it gets.
We're going to show you how to do it.
So anytime I'll ask a question, if that has happened to you, you shall put a finger down. Just to understand where we are in the room, context setting. So put a finger down if you've ever announced a bold initiative, because these summits have very bold initiatives. You've said it, you're ready to do it, and then later struggled on fully implementing it once you're back in the office. Aha, I can see 2 fingers down. You know,
We're
yeah?
not judging,
Yeah?
guys. Nobody's
Yeah,
judging you.
yeah,
We're just being
that
honest.
happens, okay? Put a finger down if you believe alignment is Africa's biggest opportunity. Aha, okay. Definitely in the right space. Put a finger down if you've sat in a room like this before and thought, this time we have to do things differently, surely. We just have to. I can see many fingers have gone down on that one, eh? And that's why we're here. You heard Ms. Karima said we're doing things differently. And finally, put a finger down if you're here not just to talk, but to leave the room with one decision you'll actually act upon once you're back in our offices. All fingers are down? Then you're definitely in the right room. A round of applause for yourselves. Now we know, after all is said and done,
Yes.
as they say, much more has to be done than said. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Now, ideally in the program, we should be doing a coffee break, but we're going to move it a little faster because we should be having a panel discussion right now. So that is what we're going to prepare for. Very, very quickly, our panel discussion. If you go through your notes in our program, so that we're able to move a little bit with our time, a little faster. So
Okay.
if you can just be able to go to your programs and see who is coming up next so that we're able to introduce all our panelists and, of course, our moderators for this particular session. Again, it's going to be fast, it's going to be fun, and want to ensure that every single person who is present here is involved the way they should. Now, I don't know whether we've been sat for a little too long. Do you want to do a little bit of like a stretch, like a health break? Do you want to do a health? I'm just looking at you. Do you want to do a health break? Okay, let's get up. Let's do a quick
I
health
can hear
break.
yes from this side of the room. He's
Let's
already
hear-
up.
Let's do a
He's
quick
already
health
up right
break.
there.
Let's do a quick health break. Everybody on your feet. We're going to do a quick health break. DJ, you're tempting me. Stop tempting me. Stop tempting me. We're going to do the easiest of things. It's a nursery rhyme, I believe we used to do, right? Put your left foot out, put your left foot in, put your left foot out, and you shake it all around. Do the boogie woogie and does anyone
I'm
know
also
how?
learning this along. This is straight improv. So left foot forward,
Yes,
left foot back,
yes. Right foot.
forward.
I like that you're following me and you're doing your left.
I was following what you were doing.
Okay,
Okay.
so are we all together? We're going to start. Put your right foot out, put your left foot back, put your right foot back, and guys, do as I say, not as I do.
Okay.
Follow it.
Okay.
Yeah? As I say, not as I do, right?
So even if you're saying right, but your left leg is the one moving, we should not follow you.
Precisely.
Okay, there.
You're
Okay,
catching up
fine.
so
Now we
fast,
got it.
right?
Now we have gotten
You're
it.
catching
Fine.
up so fast.
Fine.
So we're going to do this, okay? Put your right foot out, put your left foot back, put your left foot... we're together. Put your left...
There's someone here with two right feet. I'm not going to name names today, but there are two right feet on this side.
Okay, we're going to do it really, really fast. Now, put your right foot out, put your left foot back, put your left foot out, and you shake it all around. Do the boogie woogie. Because that's what it's all about. See, I told you there are people in this building who know it. There are people in this building who know it. Okay, put your... Hey. Nice.
Now she has problems. That is your right hand.
Okay, fine.
That is your right hand.
No, it's directions. You know how we are with directions. So put my... Guys.
You're right.
Okay, so put your... I can't do these things alone. Put my...
Right hand out.
Put my...
Left hand out.
Put my left... thank you. See, they're doing what I'm saying as
Oh
opposed
my
to
gosh.
doing it.
Okay.
See, nobody's paying attention, guys. Nobody's paying attention. Huh? At all. Nobody's paying attention. Now, one last time. Put your...
Right hand out.
Put your... And you... That's what it's all about. Now, I would like to bring the master of this with us, who has, I need a roaming mic. You can give me a roaming mic, really, really quick. Is it somewhere?
Well, Cynthia, we did talk about talent.
Yes, we
so
did.
It wasn't restricted to tech. Okay, fine.
We're about to show it off.
Fantastic.
See, I have noticed talent. I'm very good at these things. Your Excellency, if you may. Thank you very much. Join me on stage. We're going to do this with you, yeah?
I can guarantee you on the LinkedIn post he had for today, dancing was not what was going to be put there.
No,
But
it
here we
was
are.
not. Okay. So, you know the song? Yes. Okay, sharp. Where's my mic?
Can you have one roaming
There
mic?
we go.
Thank you very much.
So, you want to take us through it?
So you put your right hand out, you put your right hand in, you put your left hand out, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around.
That's what it's all about.
Yay!
Thank you very, very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for that. So,
introduce our
as we had
panel
said,
for us.
slight change in the agenda. And as we are told, this is what agility is all about. You may have your seats. I believe we're now awake. Quick announcement before we get to our first keynote address. A couple of vehicles that might need attention. KCJ 529K, that is a Nissan Patrol. KBW 301Y, KBP 075S, and KBU 089N. So once again, KCJ 529K, KBW301Y, KBP074S, and KBU089N. Please proceed to the parking area. You need to remove those vehicles right now. So just in case you didn't hear those vehicles, KCJ 529K, KBW 301Y, KBP 075S, and KBU 089N. Please proceed to the parking area. You need to move those vehicles. So let's move it along with our program, and we want to get into our keynote addresses at this particular point in time. I'd like to call on stage Colonel Dr. James Kimoyo, Director of the National Computer and Cybercrimes Coordination Committee, NC4. Colonel here. A round of applause for Colonel as he comes on stage for his remarks as well. And sorry, as he comes on stage, the summit tradition is you keep clapping until he gets to the podium. So if he likes this applause, it might take a while. Colonel, stage is yours.
PS, sir, all the protocols observed. I'm not sure how many minutes I have. 3 minutes? 15 minutes? Okay, I'll be very quick. So I just need some induction. Can we have the slides, please? Okay. All right, so I was given a very interesting topic, and I prepared for a presentation for 1 hour, but I've been told I just take 15 minutes, and therefore I will be very quick and very fast. My focus, therefore, was to be able to talk about the war that we are in within the cyberspace. And what you are seeing there are just dictionary definitions, so you don't need to worry about them. War is just a state of armed conflict between states, nations, or organized groups. And down there, we go to the next definition of what a battle is. And they usually say you can lose a battle but win a war. And your focus should be to win the war. Because within a war, you can have a series of battles, and all aimed at achieving the objectives of a war. And I want to say that one of the difficult wars to be able to fight, or one of the difficult battles to be able to fight, okay, we have a technicality here because the screen is behind me. Okay, let me stand here. So that means I'll need a mobile microphone. Guys, I need to be able to see. Can we sort that? Very good. Okay. This is where I was. In the military, we believe in rehearsals, so it means now we didn't rehearse, but we'll still move very fast. Let me go back again. So I was to deal on the issues of the battles that we are dealing with within the cyberspace, and I will say that war is a big thing that we cannot be able to exhaust its discussion here. But what I was also trying to say is a war will have many battles, and even if you lose one battle, you can still be able to win the war. So let me just go straight, just a little bit of introductions of the type of space that we are dealing with. These are just ordinary statistics that are there. The last official statistics for this country is 2019. I believe the next one should be able to be 2029, and our official population is at 47.6 million. Our median age, as you can be able to see, at the end of the bullet number 2, there is 20 years. This one, the PS has already mentioned about it, and it will have a little bit of implication on this discussion that we are having this afternoon. One of the best countries in terms of mobile penetration at almost 139%. Then smartphones alone standing at 83.5. All these are going to be able to define the landscape that we are dealing with when it comes to the cyber warfare that we are dealing with. More statistics, key to point to note there is our social media usage, standing at over 4.5 hours on a daily basis compared to the global average of 2.5. So again, this is going to influence some of the points and the discussions that we are going to have in this discussion. This is a very common statistics. They say globally that cybercrime is the third largest economy behind the United States of America and also the People's Republic of China. I've put a few bullets there in red. So if US and China have the largest economies when it comes to cyber, when it comes, they have the largest economy ahead of cybercrime, then we see that US and China have the two largest militaries. That is to also tell you by inference that cybercrime has the third largest military globally. And if cybercrime therefore has the third largest military globally, then this is the war that we are fighting both as governments, industry, private sector, academia, and also the public. So there are enough resources within the cybercrime domain or within the cybercrime space to be able for them to invest in people, to invest in technology, to invest in tools, to invest in processes. All this with the objective to ensure that they are able to probe and also compromise some of the critical information infrastructure that we have around Kenya and also within the region. I've just brought this slide to show you some of the domains of warfare. From the traditional land, where kings will fight one another just to expand their territories and their kingdoms, getting into the waters where trade and movement was more of course, the maritime now is one of the issues that has hit global headlines within the ongoing conflict, which I don't want to mention so much. We got into the air. We realized that air is a good avenue to be able to fight. People went to space. Just the other day, Americans were in the space trying to see if before the end of this decade we can be able to land in the moon. But my interest there is the development of cyberspace as the new frontier of warfare. And this is one of the areas that is coming up thick and fast. And we need to be able to prepare both as a country and as a continent to be able to take charge of this space. Now, I brought a few things here because I'm supposed to deal with the warfare. A good army, for it to be able to fight a physical war. When I say a physical war is the normal war, where we use the normal militaries, that is land, maritime, and air, we'll need three key components. That's the physical component, the moral component, and the conceptual component. And these are the very things now we want to be able to project within the cyberspace and be able to see now, can the same components therefore apply when it comes to war within the cyberspace. I have two sets of PowerPoint slides here, of two sets of points here that I've just projected, just to show you the principle of ordinary war. When I say ordinary, this is war that is within the physical domain, and also what we call the functions of combat. Now the question is here, can again these principles of war and these functions of combat, can they be applicable within the cyber domain as an area of warfare? Now let me now come to what I was supposed to do, to be dealing with. That is the battle or the war within the cyberspace. There are four things that are critical here within a good doctrine when it comes to matters of warfare. Number one is be able to understand or to define the cyberspace. We want to know what type of terrain are we operating in when it comes to the war within the cyberspace. Number two is to be able to describe the effects that we want to achieve. And the effects can be many. Physically, you want to strike. Physically, you want to fix. Physically, you want to be able to identify. Physically, you want to be able to defeat. Physically, you want to be able to stop enemy advance and all that. But within the cyberspace, we still have effects that we also need to be able to achieve. Number 3 is to be able to identify the threats and also evaluate them, because not all the threats will have the same magnitude of impact. Then 3 is to be able to identify, therefore, what we call the causes of action, and which may be the most appropriate for the given scenario that is at hand. And all these are adopted from what we have, we call the Kenya Cyber Defense Manual, and among other documents that are available within the public domain. Now let's move to what we call the phase number 1 of cyber warfare. That is being able to define the cyber or the battle space. Because if you do not know the space that you are fighting, then you will not be able to conquer. Remember, the battle space favors both the enemy and also the friendly forces. So if you are fighting in the mountainous area, for example, those mountainous areas will be both favorable and also disfavorable for both parties. If you are fighting within a desert domain, then that desert domain and environment will also be still working for or against both the enemy and also the friendly forces. If you are fighting within the what we call a jungle environment or a forested environment, the same. If you're fighting within what we call OBUA, that is operations within built-up environment, that is within the urban setup, the same operational environment will also be favoring both those who are fighting against and those who are fighting for. So within the cyber warfare environment, it is also very critical to be able for us as government, private sector, academia, and also industry to be able to understand and to define the battle space. So here we must be able to consider what are the threats, consider the terrain that you are dealing with, because you cannot be able to defend what you have not mapped. Then we move forward to continue understanding our terrain. As you can be able to see there, this is some of the figures that we have, and these are again open, available within the open source domain. Across Africa, more than 670 million plus users. Projected economy within the 2026-2027 in terms of US dollars, 180 billion, all the way up to the number of mobile money transactions that we have today, more than 100 million transactions. So this terrain, therefore, provides what we may call a very unique and a very, what we may call porous environment for would-be adversary to be able to attack or to be able to perpetrate their will-be actions, or there will be objectives within the cyber environment. Again, as you can be able to see, as the latest report, we have the KE-SAT reports that are usually published on a quarterly basis from September, October, November. So these are the numbers. Again, I will not be dwell on them. Okay. So these are the numbers, as you can be able to see, almost 4.6 billion in terms of the threats that the sensors are able to pick. And this now means that the type of defenses that we need to put in place then must be able to be commensurate to the type of threats and the numbers that we are able to receive within our systems. Okay. So step number 2 within the intelligence preparation of the battle space, that is understanding the cyberspace, is the description of the effects. Having now understood the type of environment that we are dealing with, then the next question is, what effects do we therefore want to be able to achieve? And this will be able to shape exactly how we are able now to respond. Some of the effects, just to mention, so that we be able to save on time. We need to check what will be the asymmetry in terms of speed, in terms of reach, in terms of visibility, and also in terms of the capital. Remember, effects here, we are just transferring what is there within the physical domain and trying to apply it within the cyberspace domain. Are you able, therefore, to see what is coming? And if you see what is coming, are you able to evaluate it? And if you evaluate what you have seen, then what type of response do you need, therefore, to be able to put in place so that you can be able to stop that enemy or that attacker from being able to, stopping him from being able to achieve their objectives. The number or stage number 3 is therefore now to evaluate that threat, because it is not every threat that needs response, and it is not every threat that will require the same amount or the same magnitude of response. Remember, the resources available to be able to respond to some of these threats are scarce or they are limited, and therefore, and sometimes the threats can be diverse. People can be coming, the threats can be coming from all corners. They can be flanking from all. What is key to the type of response that you apply against what you are able to see within the cyberspace. Just a minute. Okay, these are some of the enemies or some of the threat categories that we need to contend with. Allow me not to be dwell on them. Of course, their diverse impact. I want to go to number 4. Yes, number 4 now is to determine what we are calling the various causes of actions. Having now gone through the entire process up to the evaluation of those threats, then you need to be able to evaluate and determine the course of action that you need to take, considering the resources that you have and the type of threat and it's the type of threat that you are facing. So doctrinally, for you now to be able to respond, we have what we may call a layered approach, all the way from the human capital, trying to look at the threat intelligence, operation defense coordination, all the way up to the governance and what need to be done at each and every of those levels. So looking at all this, in the military or within the cyber defense capability, we have what we call the OODA loop. OODA loop is your ability to observe, orient yourself, make a decision, and take action. So the faster your OODA loop is vis-a-vis your enemy, then the better your chances of success, because immediately your enemy gets into what we call the inner cycle. That means he's able to observe, he's able to orient, he's able to decide, and he's able to act faster than you are able. Then you face imminent defeat. I know my time is up. Let me just go to the conclusion. So in conclusion, I believe that this forum provides us an opportunity to be able to discuss the real war that we are facing. And the good news with this war is you don't need to be in uniform. You don't need to understand how an AK-47 works. You don't need to have gone to a rifle range for you to be able to be a soldier against this great war. So African cybercrime battlefield is real. It is hot. It is tough. It is dangerous. We need a strong army that spans across government, industry, private sector, academia, among many others. We are saying that here, every soldier, and I've put the word soldier there in quotes, so that you don't get yourself out. You don't need to have gone to recruit training school or cadet training school for you to be a soldier when it comes to the matters of cyber defense. And individual counts, and therefore we need both the members of numbers, the capabilities, the capacities, I'm repeating myself, the tools, the trainings, the technologies, and the financial investment to be able to successfully prosecute and win this battle within the cyberspace. With those few remarks, allow me to conclude this there. Thank you. God bless you.
A round of applause for Colonel Dr. James Kimuyu. I will tell you for a fact, for someone who's gone through phishing, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. But I thank my order team was present and they helped me figure out my accounts, especially my digital and my bank accounts. It was a nightmare. But I thank God we have a solid team that helps us through that. Now, if you'll walk out the stage, thank you very, very much. A round of applause as he steps away. Thank you very, very much, Colonel. I appreciate it ever so much. On stage, I'd like to welcome David Bunay. He is the Managing Director, Oracle Kenya, and Cloud Systems Leader, East, West, South Africa. Kindly, if you join us on stage. And of course, it's going to be about 15 minutes. We're going to try very much to keep it within that time frame, or I'll walk slowly towards you. Thank you very much.
So to the PS, Ministry of ICT and Innovation, to the Chair of the Board, as well as the CEO of ICT Authority, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning, or good afternoon now. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We need to be more excited. This is, cybersecurity is the most exciting space that all of us should be aware and not to slip through the presentations. So I've been given this session, just a keynote, a couple of minutes, but I do know that we have an opportunity to interact post these sessions, and I want to invite all of you to join, some of you who would want to be more discussion in our, we've got our sessions or a meeting room that we can use across this plenary, and I think we can be able to have a much more in-depth discussion. But with the few minutes that I have, I just wanted to share a couple of things because we're all a part of the industry. Oracle is part of the technology industry. We've been here over almost 20 years plus in Kenya and the region. We've been present globally over 48 years in terms of being a technology company. So few companies actually survive through that technological leap that happens every now and then. And we're absolutely excited to partner with government, to partner with private sector, and to continue working together in terms of delivering solutions for our customers as well as with government. In order to, let me start with that. It's one of our slides that we must show so that everything I say must be probably, I will not promise that I will deliver, but we promise that we'll do our best, right? I want to share this one slide because I think for me, this is the most exciting slide that we have today as Oracle, because there is obviously a massive investment happening around the world on cloud and cloud technology. We're extremely happy and honored to have investment coming into Kenya, and soon we'll have our launch in Kenya. This is a second country after South Africa, and there's also Morocco in Africa, and a couple of others that will come into the future. And the reason I say this is that in order to make an investment in data centers, it means that customers that will have to trust you, and it starts with trust. Building data centers is a massive investment, and that has a huge capital outlay. And one of the most important, really important action or important item that you need to consider is, are customers going to trust to host data in your data center? And that means that you have to have a really strong security around the customer data, so that as they trust you to move their data from their own environment to your own data center, you will be able to guarantee that that data will not be accessed by anyone, especially in a multi-tenant environment where data centers, you have multiple tenants being hosted in your data center. So if I share this, maybe I can have from the picture we have here. From the picture we have here, I want you to see the investment that we're making in data centers across the world touches every country or every region around the globe. And the reason to this is data is pervasive, obviously, and cuts across every region, cuts every country, and every industry. There is need for countries to have specific data being secured for their own sovereign reasons. And we're among the few cloud companies that actually we have built what we call sovereign data centers. For example, the EU region had to insist on their own data centers that they can access within the EU countries and have secure data that is available to their citizens of the EU community. Now, as we talk about Africa, 54 countries, we will not be able to build data centers in every country that is present in Africa. We will have to make a decision, probably east, west, south, north, and those data centers then will have to host this critical data that potentially are for different countries or different entities around Africa. The only single link that assures all these countries and everybody around Africa is security. We will have to guarantee them, as we even invest in data centers, as we invest in data sovereignty and securing trust among partners, let's say East Africa community, Southern Africa community, AFTA. What will make or break that partnership and is the trust around data and how data is handled. And so as Oracle, with almost since 1970s, our DNA has been on data security. Our history as Oracle comes out of an innovation that we were requested by a government at the time to build a secure data platform to be able to manage a huge amount of data. We've built on that innovation over the last decades to ensure that industry by industry, government by government, different governments, different solution providers are able to trust that when they use an Oracle database or Oracle infrastructure, that data is secure. We've evolved from database into applications, into cloud now. And our massive investment in cloud is a demonstration that we will guarantee our customers and our governments that we will hold their data securely, and we'll guarantee them that what we do the security in their own data centers, we're moving that data into our own data centers and guarantee that we'll provide better availability, better performance, but even better security. And that's an important conversation that we all have to accept. As I said, trust is a single point that we all have to accept in terms as we have this discussion. Our history as Oracle, we've worked with partners across different industries. In the previous slide, probably I didn't point out that we partner with Microsoft, we partner with Google, we partner with AWS and many other cloud providers so that data can move from one data center to the other. So as we evolve in terms of the discussion, if we even imagine that we're going to build data centers across Africa, we're going to have the ability to have that data to transit different regions, different countries securely, and people trust that that data is secure and that data's integrity is secure. As we look at those journeys, let's look at also industries. Our customers span across different industries: healthcare, defense, government, energy, transportation. And each of these have unique requirements. Each has different data requirements, the data levels of data security. In the US, for example, healthcare data is absolutely required to have the certification of HIPAA, which is an industry-wide standard for managing and curating healthcare data. In financial industry, we also have to comply with that. So what I'm trying to point out to you is you got to be able to work across industry, across the partnerships that we have with governments. We work in Kenya with the Office of Data Protection Office, and they guide us in terms of how do we manage and curate data for customers and for governments in the region. So this is an important consideration as we evolve into this new era of data. Security is not going to be earned, and trust is not going to be earned in one day. It's a journey. And it's not a point product that we invest in order to fix a problem. We have to literally understand that it's a multi-layered approach. It's a continuum. As the speakers who have mentioned before, we have to think through the multi-layer approach, like the defense that you talked about, the Colonel talked about. In a similar way, and I know there are many technical speakers who will speak shortly, we have to think through this security and cybersecurity from the perspective of continuum and from the perspective that we need to think through an approach that addresses each and every space with leaving no gap. In our own experience, part of what we do is to ensure that as we move our customers' data into cloud, we're able to identify, authenticate that data, and give them the same access as they were in their own office, in their own data centers, that they host their own data. We are able to authorize that in a seamless manner, regardless whether it's in our cloud or in their own private environment, and ensuring that data is encrypted, depending on the industry and depending on the requirements of our customers, and as well as provide the visibility that they need. But all that, as one of the speakers mentioned, I think the PS mentioned about, is the foundation. The foundation in terms of the infrastructure layer going up needs to be absolutely secure as you build on those multi-layer, whether into application level or other areas of the technology. So why do customers and why do governments trust us? We do have that decades of experience in partnership, in protecting data, and we do think that we continue to be the world's trusted technology company, because when we lose that trust, regardless of the 40 years plus of our, we take security seriously. We do partner across, as I say, different industries. Requirements vary by industry, and we do think that we're able to be adaptable. As I said, security should be built in, not as an add-on. And I know a lot of the technical speakers will speak about this in the next sessions. And as I conclude around this one, integrated security is critical, because once you have one single unified integrated security, you can have visibility in the different layers rather than having a point visibility, and the reaction of that incident is better managed when you have a full visibility across. I want to, as I conclude, this is an important one because a lot of governments in Africa are considering moving their data into data centers. It's going to be a huge undertaking. First, the fact that a lot of data today are hosted by individual departments, individual ministry agencies. As they consolidate that data, and we all know the reasons why this has to happen, we have to think about what are the areas to explore or learn. For example, what happened in the EU case, it was very specific. They need to make sure that data is available across all their, but that data must have separation, because these are different countries with different requirements and different demands in terms of what they do every day. And there has to be full encryption of data. And that data needs to be visible to only those who need to access it, whether in a multi-tenant environment or in a converged structure. At a high level, localization, isolation, access management, asset ownership, which is also complex, operational support, and of course the regulatory across has to be considered, is to be one of the consideration. This has to be an in-depth conversation. As I said, it's going to be extremely difficult to build data centers in every country, but what we can do is harmonize our regulation, our policies, as we look at a granular level, what do we need to do? And these are some of the concerns. And the wall, where we had a sub-2 marathon, right? Sub-2 hours marathon for some of you who are athletes. Security is an adaptation. And what you see happening globally, whether in sports or any other industry, it's adaptation. And as we embrace AI and cloud technology, we have to adapt. And everyone has to adapt. Governments have to adapt. Industry have to adapt. And everyone else. Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to the sessions this week. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bune. Asante sana. I hope that has also inspired you to, next time you're on the track doing your jog, we are doing sub-2. The race is on. You still do. Fantastic. Thank you so much. A very dynamic discussion taking place, and as you can see, addressing national security issues, coming closer to cloud security, and really at the end of the day, the premium is indeed trust. Trust that your virtual borders are secure, if you're a citizen of Kenya or any other country, but also if you're one of customers who are using Mr. Bune's facilities and technical expertise, that you are indeed secure. Trust being the ultimate premium. I want us to call upon our next speaker to take us through the technical aspects, as Mr. Bune had also alluded to. And as he comes on stage, please put your hands together for Mr. Kelvin Mugambi, Technical Solutions Architect at Cisco. Round of applause for Kelvin as he comes on stage.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, industry leaders, government leaders, partners. I'd like to welcome you to this session where we'll be discussing trust as the currency of Africa's digital future. So Mr. Bune has done a good job just bringing up what Oracle is doing all around the cloud adaptation, all around securing your data in the cloud. But I will take it a step further, looking at the technical aspects of how we do this at Cisco. So when you talk about trust being the currency of Africa's digital future, we have to look at the digital modernization that you're taking, that's taking place in Africa and the steps that you're taking. So we are adopting technologies really quickly. We've seen cloud adoption, and with cloud adoption, then data becomes a primary concern, right? We are adopting things like mobile money. We have huge adoption of AI. Multiple LLMs are being used. So with that, then trust becomes an integral part of the architecture. Becomes an integral part of the infrastructure. You cannot connect without that trust. And something else to understand is that people will be less likely to adopt solutions if they do not trust that their data is safe with that. So whenever we look at that, Cisco for us, we look at providing zero trust across the entire model, across the entire foundation. Sorry. And one of the things we're looking at is the adoption of AI. So AI introduces multiple threats, right? Not only from the attackers leveraging these LLMs. If you imagine an attacker using an LLM to collect information about you, to launch a phishing attack about you, right? How much of your information is out there in the world? How much of it is accessible? Look at the integrity of the models that you're using, right? How many LLMs can you depend on and you're sure that whatever results they're giving you, are consistent, compliant with safety regulations, and do not compromise your environments. And then finally, whenever you look at governments adopting AI, the issue of data sovereignty comes in. Where is this data being stored? So that's something that Mr. Bune has talked on, and it's quite critical because you'll find a lot of organizations. Recently, I had a session with a financial organization, and they were telling me that there is no chance that they will land their LLMs in the cloud, right? They will want to land them on-prem. So with that in mind, because of the financial risk that is introduced, how do we then make sure that we secure the digital modernization? So one of our biggest opportunities is when we look at the talent. Africa has a very young population, And with that in mind, then it's quite easy and it's quite key for us to take steps to make sure that this population is well, informed, educated on adopting cybersecurity and AI. Cisco has taken some key steps to that. We have our Cybersecurity Learning Center. It's hosted in the Nairobi University, the Chiromo campus. We have another one that we launched recently, last year, that's in Rwanda. We have another one also in Lagos. And what we do is that we open it up to students. You can come, learn from industry experts, see what you are seeing out there in the world. Remember, with Cisco, we leverage Talos, and I'll leverage it again. Talos is the world's largest non-governmental security research organization. You can actually look it up. They have a very good podcast called Beers with Talos, right? So if you're interested in learning more about cybersecurity and the attacks that are coming up, it's quite essential to leverage that. Now, with that threat intelligence, then, can we provide that to the government? Can we work with the government whereby we can leverage our knowledge of the threats that we are seeing in the industry or actually attacking, government organizations, other organizations, just leveraging AI and look at how do we protect that. We need to go through these steps. First, we said people before platform. But the number one thing is we need proper government strategy on adoption of multiple AI solutions, right? And this is why we start talking about zero trust. So Mr. Bunei raised a very critical point in that trust has to be built in from the start. So we'll start with having the government strategy. Private sector, of course, can come in and we can offer our threat intelligence. We have multiple solutions as Cisco. At last count, I think we had over 28 solutions. We've just recently done an acquisition on a company that governs AI security. Then there's the academy and training. We've spoken about the Net Academy and the Ed Center we have. And finally, we would also need some oversights from the civil society. We cannot trust AI on its own. So this is Cisco's commitment to Africa, right? Number one, we're investing a lot in educating, and not just through the Edge Academies I'm talking about, not just through the NetAcad, but we are offering multiple avenues of educating new entrants into the cybersecurity domain. A new entrants into the, basically, technology domain. Cisco is investing a lot in AI, and you'll actually see that based on our recent acquisitions. We have a proven track record on zero trust. I'll mention that as I come in, and we also offer partnership opportunities. Things like threat sharing, we can have skill programs, policy framework designs, and zero trust deployments. So when you talk about Cisco's journey to zero trust, we have to understand that getting zero trust is essential when you talk about protecting the identities. One key thing that a customer also leveraged, and this is a customer, also another financial organization, and they told me that the traditional perimeter is dead. The new perimeter is the identity, right? Think about an organization that is hosting some of their data on clouds, and you have multiple cloud vendors. You probably have some of the best like Oracle, Azure, AWS. You have your own private cloud. You have some data in mobile devices. Think about your users. Your users, some of them are working from home. Some of them are in the office. You have hybrid users. Some of them are actually IoT devices and LLMs acting as users, leveraging agentic AI. So with that in mind, how do you offer protection across the entire environment? So getting zero trust is essential, is key. Let me just jump to the next. And zero trust means different things to multiple people, right? For some of them, it's segmentation. For some of them, it's endpoint security. It's identity. It's firewalls. We're not here to have discussions on products. It's mostly about zero trust is a journey. It's not a solution. You cannot buy one solution to give you zero trust, right? If a vendor tells you, I will give you zero trust solution, right, that covers everything, that's quite impossible because it's a journey that you walk to. Every time you adopt a new solution, every time maybe you deploy a new application, every time you host a new application, then you have to think about how do you secure that. So some of the barriers we usually see is lack of management support, lack of leadership support. If they don't understand the values to zero trust, then they're not familiar with what it offers them. Budget limitations, lack of prioritization, lack of knowledge. I won't spend a lot of time on this, and lack of qualified staff. As you can see, they are mostly all tied together around spreading the user education. So this is Cisco's journey. Right now, we are a 60 billion company, and as you can see, we have managed to secure ourselves internally. Now, one thing about zero trust is you have to think about not whether you'll be compromised. It's a matter of if you'll be compromised, right? And you can remember, even ourselves as Kenya, we've been, victims of a few compromises, some that even hit our trading systems for an entire day. So with that in mind, you know that these compromises will happen, right? So the matter of industry resilience is how fast can you recover whenever you have an incident in your environment. So with zero trust, you need to quickly identify and contain that incident. And this is what Cisco has managed to do. I won't get a lot into the numbers because the numbers constantly changed. But we are seeing a lot of return on investment in terms of employee productivity, in terms of savings, the cases that go to the help desk, and the potential compromises averted per month. Good thing is, if you're following up on what Talos does, they'll even talk about when Cisco was compromised, because we've been compromised in the past. But Zero Trust helped us in that we were able to realize we've been compromised quite quickly. We were able to limit the impact of that compromise, and we were able to go public and say what happened. So you'll be able to see that on what Talos says. So these are the key principles whenever we talk about trust being the currency of Africa's digital future. Never assume trust. Trust is not static, it's not ones and zeros. Trust is dynamic. Trust changes all the time, right? Just because someone is who they say they are, then you have to take additional measures to make sure that you can confirm that. Think about the law of non-repudiation. So always verify. And then lastly, always enforce least privilege. And this, as you can see, it's not only applying to individuals, even to LLMs, right? Imagine you're running an LLM that has agentic capabilities and you have no limitations on the actions that it can carry out. Right? So you need to make sure that you enforce least privilege. So these are some of the NIST tenants. I won't go through them in detail, but you can see it's mostly around identifying your resources, identifying the communications between your resources, and making sure that all resource authentications are dynamically and strictly enforced, right? And collect as much information as possible. I know Mr. Binay talked about that, but you need the visibility into everything that's happening within your organization. I don't know if I have some more time, but so when you go into the implementation, you can see one of the main things that you need to do is limit the number of policy decision points. Have as many policy enforcement points as possible, but limit the number of policy decision points. Why do I say this? You have an identity that is attributed to you, right? Ideally, you want this identity to then indicate what you can access and what capabilities you have. And this information should be stored at one central point, which is going to be the policy decision point. Once the policy decision point has that capability to spread the policy to the enforcement points, then you can have as many enforcement points as possible, and you can leverage additional intelligence. For example, the threat intelligence, you can get activity logs, industry compliance. This goes a bit deeper, but like I said, I won't spend a lot of time on this. I can share this. Please feel free to pass by our booth. But the key thing to look at is having multiple policy enforcement points. And that's the same thing, even whenever you talk about, looking at how to make sure that these identities can be trusted across multiple organizations and across multiple applications. So this is looking at the CISA, Zero Trust Maturity Model. So in this case, you're looking at different pillars. They're not looking at the access. They're not looking at the assets. It's mostly around the identity, the device, the network, and the environment you are accessing, the application workload. So workload can be a virtual machine, it can be a container, it can be a bare metal system, anything that can run an application, and the data that you are using, right? And the data that you are providing and consuming. So this is the DoD, how the DoD, Department of Defense, maps to the CISA. And as you can see, it's almost the same, but they are separate pillars. And their separate pillars are around visibility and analytics, automation and orchestration. That is where we leverage AI the most, right? Because if you have visibility and analytics, imagine you have millions of logs. How do you make sense of that? We keep saying humans learn from experience. AI learns from data. You leverage your machine learning and AI tools to make sure that all these other tenants are kept true. So is the user who they say they are? Are they accessing from a clean device? Are they accessing the application that they should have access to? And is the data they are providing clean of any, and does it have the right integrity? So this is, sorry, let me jump to the last slide. I don't know if it's still showing. But the DoD has fundamental capabilities. There are zero trust capabilities. What I'd like to end with is that before starting any zero trust journey, understand that an enterprise cannot determine what new processes or systems need to be in place if there is no knowledge of the current state of operations, right? You need to understand your current state of operations, map your data flows, look at all the scenarios, right? If the user is seated in the office accessing an application that's on cloud, if the user is seated at home accessing an application that is hosted on-prem, if the user is accessing something from their mobile devices. So this is what you're talking about. Always understand your data flows, map your data flows, understand them, document them, look at where the threats would then come up, and then look at those protections. So this, I'd like to leave you with this slide because I believe this slide shows everything around the different scenarios you'd have. For example, you have your on-prem employee accessing from a trusted device, but you have your applications in the data center. You have another scenario where you have an on-prem the access that you're giving them, but they're accessing your internal applications. And you have so I'll stop there. I'd like to just thank you for showing up and thank the organizers for bringing industry leaders together and ask you to just pass by our stand and we can discuss this in a bit more detail.
A round of applause for Kevin. He's done very, very well, very, very speedy as well. We appreciate it. Again, a round of applause for a fantastic job he's done. A few things I've learned about non-trust is never assume trust. Always verify and enforce privilege. Very, very clear. Again, for someone who has been phished before, I'm learning so much. I wish I learned this last year. Then I would have been clicking on some random links, among other things. Now, to move on faster, kindly allow me to welcome Fred Waidaka, Director of Regulatory Affairs at Safaricom. A round of applause as he makes his way. I am hoping you're going to give us millennial and Gen Z energy. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Where is the energy? Kano called us soldiers, but I don't feel the energy. Good afternoon.
Huh? Yo.
But keeping to what Kelvin has told us, that we should be aware of our surroundings or the state of affairs of our organization. I know you're all hungry, so I will not keep you. So in our typical African tradition, I must bring you greetings from Safaricom. So greetings from Safaricom, I hope you receive them. We will be discussing this very important topic around trust. And what I'll do is just speak through my prepared statement, which will also introduce the next panel that will be coming up. And the speakers that have come before me have all pointed to technical people who are coming. And I think that is the panel that is the technical people. So I will proceed, and I will ride on the protocols that have so far been established. So it is a privilege to address you today at this gathering that reflects Africa's ambition to shape its own digital destiny. Over the last 2 decades, Africa's digital conversation has evolved. We have moved from debating a connectivity gap to confronting a usage gap. Across the continent, significant progress has been made to deploy connectivity infrastructure, from mobile networks, expansive fiber footprints, data centers, to digital public infrastructure at scale. Connectivity is therefore not just about access, but about how confidently people are able to use digital services to create economic and social value. And that confidence is built on trust. From Kenya, and it's a story that is familiar to many. For those who are not familiar with it, stay tuned. So in 2007, Safaricom launched M-Pesa. It began as a simple way to send money by phone, but what made M-Pesa transformative was not the technology alone. It was the trust people placed in it. Farmers, traders, and families adopted it because they believed their money was safe, the system reliable, and the service secure. That trust turned M-Pesa into a digital lifeline and concurrently to one of the world's most successful mobile money transfer platforms, driving financial inclusion and participation across our economy. This journey of transformation has continued with ZD Trader, a product that utilizes M-Pesa's rails to democratize access to the Nairobi Securities Exchange. ZD Trader has allowed our customers to trade shares on the Nairobi Securities Exchange easily and conveniently from their phone. The result, in just over 3 months, 60% of all retail trades at the Nairobi Securities Exchange are now attributed to this platform, speaking to the power of digital platforms as drivers of inclusion. The lesson is clear, ladies and gentlemen. Africa's digital future will not be built on networks alone. It will be built on trust. Trust is an inevitable currency of the digital economy. Without it, adoption stalls. With it, innovation scales. I'm sure that for all of us who sail the winds of technology, and of course for our regulators and policymakers in our various government functions, trust is not abstract. It is reflected in resilient networks, secure platforms, clear rules, and strong safeguards that protect data identities and dignity. And those were the same conversations that the speakers who came before me broke down. At Safaricom, building reliable, safe, and secure platforms is deliberate. Over 60 million customers in Kenya and Ethiopia trust our platforms, not simply because they work, but because they work safely. This commitment demonstrates a simple truth. Trust is earned through consistent action, and when sustained, it enables innovation at scale. Trust must also extend to our people, and by the people I mean our children. As connectivity expands, children are entering digital spaces earlier than ever before. Security must be embedded by design, not added as an afterthought. Second, clarity in how systems work. Digital systems are not tools for the elite. Ease of use and understanding is now an expectation that drives inclusion, builds confidence, and facilitates participation without fear. A shared understanding becomes a force multiplier to protect our networks and advance cyber security hygiene. And then third, collaboration across borders and sectors. Cyber threats know no borders, and the Colonel was clear on this in his presentation, and our responses must be continental, sharing knowledge, building partnerships, and creating a united front. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa's continued digital growth depends on trust, trust that essential services will remain available, trust that infrastructure can withstand disruption, and trust that governments and industry are collectively prepared to manage risk responsibly. As Safaricom, we remain committed to working with regulators, governments, industry, partners, and the wider ecosystem to build reliable, safe, and secure digital platforms, and to strengthen the trust that underpins Africa's digital economy and its integration under the AFCTA. On that note, I also want to welcome you all to our exhibition stall, which is just past this door. Come and see the various products and services that we have. And as we were encouraged by the Secretary earlier this morning, we are happy to engage with you on whatever deals we could be able to partner with you to be able to drive the conversation around the unity of Africa together. With that, I look forward to the discussions ahead. Asanteni.
Another round of applause, tafadhali. We're inching closer to that particular point where we network over a very fine meal. Of course, we've been told you need to be situationally aware. Colonel came here and told us that, so I want us to quickly move to our panel discussion before we get there. And this particular panel discussion is bringing to, a climax what we've discussed in keynote presentations, cyber resilience, protecting critical infrastructure. And to go through this particular panel discussion, I'd like to call them on stage. First, Alan Lule of Oracle. Mr. Lule, coming on stage. A round of applause for him, tafadhali. On stage as well, Mr. John Geshohi, Fortinet East Africa. Mr. John Geshohi, coming on stage as well. I'll ask for a better round of applause. I know we're almost at lunch, but let's take it over the line. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Tim Thori, M-Pesa Africa. Mr. Thori coming on stage as well. There he is. Round of applause for him. Mr. David Mugo of Commvault. David Mugo. A round of applause for Mr. Mugo. Thank you so much. And finally on the panel, Colonel Evans Ombati of the Kenya Defense Forces. Do you have Colonel Ombati here? There he is. A round of applause for him as he comes on stage. And to ably steer this particular conversation, I'd like to call Mr. William Makatiani, CEO of Seriano. Round of applause for Mr. Makatiani as he comes on stage as well.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for staying the course. When you discuss resilience, I think most of us look at it as a very technical topic. But humanity, for the longest time, we've been very resilient. When you think about COVID-19, there are all these predictions that a lot of us will not survive, but we did survive. Even in our own homes, we survived through resilience. But when it comes to technology, we start thinking about resilience as a very different topic. And that is something we have to address. When you think about the physical self that you are and the digital self that you are, we start losing some guard. On our panel today, we have a very diverse team of experts. I'll call them experts. Some of these gentlemen, I've worked with them for almost 10 years, and they have quite a bit of knowledge to share with us today. Hopefully, we'll be able to get that. I'll be asking them a couple questions, and through those questions, we'll be able to get answers as we start. Now, as we start off, again, we have Mr. Evan Sombati from the Ministry of ICT, Mr. Tim Theuri from M-Pesa, John Gishoi from Fortinet, and of course, Alan Lule from Oracle, and David Mugo from Commvault. So to kickstart us in the discussion, we all know as we start talking resilience, it's a question of interconnectedness. It's a question of critical infrastructure. But what does critical infrastructure mean? How do you determine critical infrastructure? How do you identify the difference between an incident that can be handled as an operational issue vis-a-vis a critical incident that becomes a national issue? I would like to invite Mr. Mbati to help us address that particular question.
Yes, okay, you can sit. Yeah, all protocols observed. My name is Kanulo Mbati, and I would want to appreciate this connected conference. Quickly, because we have a very short time, it is important that we appreciate the aspects that has been already presented this morning on issues trust, security, infrastructure, connectedness, and systems. At the end of the day, I remember my colleague from Defense already gave you an overview that we are in an environment that is always competitive, that has got geopolitical interests, personal interests, company interests, and that forms our ecosystem. So as we do whatever we do, we must be aware that any system that we build must be resilient and must be trusted. To achieve this, it is important also to appreciate what is critical infrastructure, as my moderator has already pointed out. Many of us don't understand what we define a critical infrastructure in the digital age. We always sectorized key systems, maybe in defense, water, transport, health, and so forth, telecoms, and so forth. But right now, we are in an environment where systems are interconnected. A system that is supporting water, a system that is supporting transport at one time, they are all hosted in a cloud environment. Maybe Cisco or other cloud infrastructure, AWS and the rest. So at one time, when we are talking of protecting that critical infrastructure, we must be aware of its implications. Sometimes we also may look at critical infrastructure from various dimensions, the functional dimension. If disruption of this critical infrastructure is going to render a whole organization into no service, or a whole nation into no service, a whole population of a country may not be able to conduct business, from private sector, from individuals to government. That is a system that is considered a critical infrastructure. We also have a lens where a critical infrastructure is such a system that whose inability to function will cause life. And many a times, this is not directly measured from digital frameworks. It is cascaded. A system may cause you not to access your bank, and by so doing, you miss buying food, and by so doing, you are likely to be hunger, and in the long run, you're likely to die. So, or a system may disrupt a health system that is supporting life, and at the end of the day, we lose that life. So that system is considered critical in that perspective. We also have this assessment on critical systems that may cause trust loss, either to an organization or to an individual, a key individual in this regard, or to a government. We have seen this before, of issues of misinformation, disinformation, somebody coming up with a message about something, and you have a serious campaign out there from nowhere. At the end of the day, you'll have serious national security harm to very many people, and that is also the angle at which you can look at how critical a system may be. And this, in this respect, social media frameworks fall in that category. Therefore, what is important is to appreciate that a cyber incident becomes a national security concern when it threatens the essential services that may cause cross-sector disruption. For instance, now, like we have the fiber cables, the submarine fiber cables, which supply or connect the East Africa to the West Africa. Any disruption or inability for those cables to function, you could see the kind of implication. Most of the banking sector will be affected, health sector will be affected, and not just here in Kenya, but across the region. That is a serious critical infrastructure that now we must all securitize. Therefore, resilience means ensuring that the nation continues to function even under attack of such a critical infrastructure. So then, what do we need to do? We must be able to implement that infrastructure, if it's the network connectivity, if it's infrastructure, if it's a critical system. We must have in mind security by design. If it's an application, security by its development. That must be very core. The other important aspect is that we must always consider redundancy of such a critical infrastructure. Then, if an incident occurs, we must consider a coordinated approach. We must bring in all the key sectors, all the key stakeholders, all the key partners, and maybe engaging various countries to be able to undertake response to such an incident, which requires a very strong regional and national cooperation. And because our infrastructure is shared, as you've realized, we are living currently in a very interconnected environment. Therefore, the risk is there, and we must be able to act. I think with those, thank you.
Thank you very much, Colonel. Thank you very much. I think it becomes very clear from what you're hearing, if it affects our health, if it affects our life, it's water, energy, it becomes very critical. You've had all these cases with all the wars that are happening. When our water infrastructure is affected, it becomes a major issue. So as you think about from whatever country you're coming from, think about critical infrastructure. It's important for us to be able to identify those and come up with that very clear analysis. I'm sure most of you use mobile money. Is there anyone who doesn't use mobile money in the room? Any one person does not use mobile money. Tim comes to us from M-Pesa Africa, and I would like you to share with us a little bit, just Tim, from where you sit, what constitutes acceptable resilience? You might have it, but there's some of our peers here might be looking at say, how do you build acceptable resilience for a very critical infrastructure organization like yours?
Yeah, thank you for that. Very good question. I think acceptable resiliency, in my opinion, is when the customer does not know that this particular service, even how it works, what details, does not concern themselves with it. M-Pesa, as it is, we try to design it, to engineer it to be as simple as possible. Whenever we get an issue, whenever any customer for any particular service experiences a particular issue and has to now begin thinking, is this service resilient? Will this service be able to help me in my time of need? then it means that there is an opportunity, there is an improvement opportunity there for that particular service to become more resilient. And that is how the nature it is. I think whenever you're dealing with customers, as long as the service is 100% uptime, as long as the service is resilient, as long as whatever is supposed to be happening on the back end is happening silently without any customer input, the customer will not remember you. But when you make one mistake, when you are trending in the headlines, when you are trending in Twitter, when your resiliency has taken a dip, that's the time now the customer will actually now begin questioning, is this the correct service for me? And from you as a management team, as an organization, that is a time when now it becomes more important for you to invest in resiliency and invest in ensuring that the customer places full trust. It does not have to think, places all the trust that is required on that particular service. How have we done this? We've done multiple upgrades. Last year, we recently upgraded our platform to support up to 12,000 transactions per second. It went on very smoothly. We've done hundreds of upgrades in the last couple of years on our M-Pesa core platform. We've not been perfect always. You recently saw the message that we recently sent for the One App upgrade. We learned from that. We listened to the customer. We are still reworking that experience to meet the customer needs. So customer resiliency also is not, as people usually think, as IT people think only when the service is up. It is also how the customer experiences that particular service. So if our customer cannot be able to experience, for instance, in our case, cannot be able to experience the app because of other issues, then that also impacts their trust in the service. That also impacts the resiliency of the service. The platform could be up, yes, running, but if they don't have data, for instance, to access your particular service, it's as good as the service being down. I think one of the lessons that we always learn is we always try and emphasize, prioritize getting what the customer, from the customer sides, getting what the customer is talking about our platform. When we hear a lot of complaints, noise, then that's when we know, yes, there's something that we need to do. There is definitely something that we need to fine-tune or tweak. When there is silence, when you're not trending, then that's when we know we are doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. I'm going to add one more question, just a minute. So you've given us the front side. You have thousands of vendors you work with. You have third parties. You have cloud providers. What is this sophisticated infrastructure you've built in the back end that allows this front side to sleep comfortable?
I think you can go into a very technical deep dive in terms of that next generation platform that allows us to maintain 100% uptime. But I won't emphasize that. What I'll emphasize more on is the people and the processes that we invest in. Because remember, while the technology is important, from my experience, what is more important is ensuring that you have the correct people following the correct processes. Because let's be honest, technology is very simple. I mean, you tell a computer to do X, it does X. You tell a computer to do Y, it does Y. When you tell now a person to do X, then that person mishears, miscommunicates, and does ABC instead of doing X, Y, Z. When you don't have processes in place, you tell, and somebody is supposed to do ABC, then that's when people become creative, and then they do X, Y, Z, things that they're not supposed to do. So for us, the key differentiator is not the technology, but it is actually the people and the process, ensuring that you invest in the people so that they are trained, they are skilled, they are motivated to be able to do the correct job, not that they start thinking of other things that will distract them, and the processes to ensure that things go as they're supposed to be. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's talked about emotions, and this is where AI comes in. AI has no emotion, yeah? When you say you're going to sleep at 5, it tells you, I can work till 5 while you're away. So we'll have gone into AI, but that's for another day. Now, moving to you, John. John, you run probably one of the largest security infrastructure in Africa. I think everywhere you go, you hear Fortinet, 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 Fortinet. And I want to talk a little bit about this whole idea of, as a vendor, how do you support the organizations you're working with whenever there's an incident, and then think about patching, high level, what are some of the issues you look at, making sure that you're not the weakest link in this whole ecosystem? And then as you answer that question, for those people sitting here, they've deployed your systems, how do you make sure there's rapid, coordinated response when it comes to resilience?
Thanks, William. By the time each customer is thinking about deploying a security solution, it means that they have mission critical data that they are protecting in their environment. So as vendors, we take it very seriously so as not to be the weakest link, as William has said, in these customer environments. So there are several key things that vendors actually invest in to make sure that their products are secure in the customer's environment. So number one is to actually follow frameworks in the software development cycle. So for example, based on NIST secure software development, ISO 27001, to actually make sure that actually we do proper software testing, vulnerability testing that is continuous, and always expose this and patch in time. So the other thing is to actually give a secure and hardened platform. So what we do here is typically harden the OS, make sure that we expose very minimum, let's say APIs, whatever access that needs to be accessed within the systems, within the products, are accessed only with minimal access. And the other thing is actually to actually, for example, give a hardened system in the sense that any weak protocols should not be exposed by default. So by the time you are powering this device, it has only secure protocols that are exposed to minimize the exposure or let's say the possibility of a breach. So the other thing also that we also invest in is a readily available product security incident response team. Our PSRT is 24/7. So whenever an incident is there, they are reachable, they'll work with you, try to form a root cause analysis to make sure that from both of our ends we patch, we remediate quickly, and you are out of that incident. But before that, what we also try to do is actually prevent supply chain attacks. So we try and secure the update mechanism so that any updates being sent from us to these systems are cryptographically signed with hardware-backed encryption to make sure that there is no let's say malicious software that is taken to this, and also give the customer the ability to test before they actually update their systems in that case. So this said, it's not only the responsibility of the vendor to make sure that these products are safe. So whenever you deploy a solution, there are best practices that are actually published by the vendors. This should be implemented, and as in customer environments, you should be able to do things like segmentation of the network, out-of-band management, best practices that will reduce the exposure of these systems, vulnerabilities that would lead to a breach in that environment. So we continuously train and let's say sensitize to our customers about the best practice deployments to actually minimize such kind of issues.
Thank you very much, John. I think what you're hearing very clearly is when next time you're buying a product, ask yourself those questions. Very simple. What standards did you use to build the product? How are we going to survive an attack? And that becomes very critical because a lot of us rush into all these deals without understanding those aspects. I want to move to you, Alan. For those who work in this space, you know very well recovering an application or a database is one of the most difficult tasks you can ever get involved in. Now, with the advance of cloud, all of us are being told, move to the cloud, your systems will be secure, it will work, it will be able to recover the system. How true is that? And look at it from a control, consistency. If I'm moving my data to the cloud vis-a-vis my server room, does it mean if something goes down, I'll just get it? Will it be as seamless as Tim mentioned?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So, yes, so by default, and I think many of us may not know, but David mentioned it in the beginning, the genesis of Oracle was to build a database platform for the US government, right? So for us, resilience and security are in the DNA of the organization and in the DNA of how we do our practices. Whereas most of you are saying secure by design, for us it's secure first approach. So before you discuss anything, security is first. Then of course that goes with resilience. So this goes on into how we build our applications with security in depth, how we build our systems, our databases, to ensure that these platforms are secure because they contain the most critical data for governments, for enterprises, and for most organizations. So when we look at resilience, when we changed our cloud from generation 1 to generation 2, the reason for that change was to ensure resilience. And if I bring it home, there's no single organization in Africa that can have data centers in 200 places, like you'll see in our footprint. And how we've seen this come into life is with the war in the Middle East. The organizations that were running on cloud-based platforms were able to move those workloads from the Middle East into Australia, into the US. Whereas those who had their data centers in the Middle East, because of work from home, now they cannot operate. So if you ask me, does cloud bring resilience? Yes, by default. By default, cloud brings resilience. But we are not only restricting you to that kind of architecture, because today, if you want us to bring the cloud into your data center because of data control or sovereignty, we are still able to do that. And that's why you see there's a sovereign cloud, right? For the European Union, for the US government, as well as for Australia, whereby government data resides within that country, it doesn't get out, you keep your sovereignty, and be able to control your data. So what we've done is we've given you the choice to decide where your data resides, how you control it, and also to ensure that it's resilient, meaning should anything go down, you're able to move workloads from one region to another without any failure. And I think that's what Mr. Theory was talking about, having no impact to the customer or to the organization or to the government. Everything keeps going. No one knows whether the data is in Australia or in the US or in Kenya. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan. You've heard it from him. It works. It will work. I'm sure it's in the SLA. Yes. Now, moving to you, David. This year, I've been involved in 7 ransomware attack investigations. It is a very painful experience because once you walk into that room, people are expecting magic. People are expecting the system to run on its own, to be able to get the data and to be able to move on. David, as far as I've known you, for the longest time I've known you, your company is responsible for going in and actually recovering that data. Where we talk about resilience, you are the people who show up when things are not working. Talk to us a little bit about how should we prepare for that, so that next time you don't have a William sitting there telling you don't have backups, you don't have this and that. How do you prepare? And also at the board level, what conversation should we be having? Not until that night. And it's usually at midnight or 4 a.m. in the morning. Thank you, David.
All right, thank you so much, William, and hello, everyone. So yes, it's one of those really, really challenging meetings you never ever really want to actually be in. But at the same time, there are quite a fair number of customers I've had the pleasure of speaking to where we've just got them out of a ransomware incident. One actually fairly recently this month in Kenya. The key lessons that are, or maybe just summarize everything in terms of what we find out many, many times over, it's assumptions, right? That there are often a lot of assumptions made about how the incident will end up happening and how you'll automatically be able to recover from it. Our advice is to look at a couple of really, really critical things. So number one, ensure that you are addressing the whole aspect of risk. Understand exactly where your data ultimately sits, who has access to it, and keep measuring that. It is a continuous exercise. Another very, very critical thing is detection, right? Let it not be that it is your citizens or customers who are telling you that your systems are down, right? You should be able to detect that very, very quickly. And the next very key thing in detection is understanding the blast radius. Okay, so how many systems do I need to recover? Is it one that's been affected? Is it everything? And then another really, really big assumption is that, well, look, we have a production site, we have a disaster recovery site. They will attack the production site, and the disaster recovery site will help us be able to recover. This is an absolute myth, right? When the attack happens, they're attacking data. Data resides in production. Data resides at the DR site. Everything has to be compromised for them to ask you for the ransom, right? So always assume and plan worst case scenario. And remember, I've just said, have a plan. I don't know, maybe by a quick show of hands, how many organizations have an incident response plan for ransomware? Very important, but not many other hands out there, which is concerning, right? So this is really, really, really important. Have a plan, but even more important than a plan is that you have to have at least one fully immutable copy of data. I've seen many customers who've had very bad hygiene on many other things that's been discussed here on the panel. But as long as they had that one immutable copy of data, they were able to get themselves out of a very, very sticky situation. So really, really important. And I'll say this many, many times over, test. Test that incident response plan that you actually have, right? Don't let it be that the very, very first time you're going into an incident is the first time you're actually invoking that plan, all right? So I would say in regards of some of the really, really tough discussions you often have, I would actually summarize them. Understand your risk within the organization, ensure that you actually have an actual plan in place, ensure that you have ways and mechanisms to detect incidents a lot early, and I'll say this many, many times, have a battle-tested cyber resilience plan, right? Not a project, a plan, right? So I'll maybe summarize it on.
Thank you very much. So anticipate the risk, prevent, which means put in controls, prepare to respond, and be able to validate that you can recover. As we wrap up, I just want, starting from that side, coming this way, high level, what keeps you awake? What keeps you awake? And some parting shots, just 30 seconds.
Yeah, so I think what keeps me awake is the emergence of AI in the industry, because it's not only good to enhance how IT works, but also the people who need to make attacks on the systems use AI to do this. So I think time and time we have to continuously test our resilience of our systems, knowing that even the attackers are using more and more advanced ways of attacking these systems. I think this really keeps everyone awake, I think, in IT.
Thank you, Alan. John?
What keeps me awake is typically trying to understand what the adversary is doing. And I think AI is one of the drivers. So how do I assist organizations and our government alike in trying to keep pace and trying to stay ahead or a step ahead of the adversary? So I think for me, that's what keeps me awake.
Thank you. Tim?
Maybe mine is a bit different. What keeps me awake is my 60 plus, going to 70 million customers across all of Africa. I mean, there are threats from AI, there are threats from supply chain attacks. But what is keeping me awake is once a customer is impacted, once a show there in the upcountry can't be able to receive her hospital, the funds that were meant for our hospital, or when somebody in Pokot a child in Pokot can't be able to receive the school fees that daddy was supposed to send from Nairobi. Whenever we impact the customer, whenever we prevent the customer from achieving what they intend to do through our platform, that's what keeps me up awake.
Thank you very much, Tim. Over to you, David.
Yeah, I think on my end I've mentioned a couple. So environments where you go in and you actually do not see someone that has an immutable copy of data. Once again, if there's any way of maybe tampering with that data, machines can replicate the exact same thing. and maybe one which is very boring and no one ever wants to do, which is just testing. Just really testing those plans out. For the customers who we have that actually do it well, my blood pressure is already way down when we go into these meetings. I know that they will survive whatever happens, but that's what keeps me awake at night. Yeah.
Thank you. Colonel?
Yeah, it's interesting. Mine is actually the dynamic nature of the threat landscape. All this we are talking about here is because of advancements of technology that are also causing intricacies on how we respond to the threats. That is actually what keeps me awake. We have to think on how all these threats must be managed at whatever level, individual, organizational, up to national level, to keep ourselves alive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So from all this, you can hear very clearly this illusion of control, And for the longest time, we'll sleep and hope the system something won't change on the system, yes? But now with AI, you heard about the Claude Mythos thing, yeah? That happened 2 weeks ago. That illusion of control, sleeping and assuming things will work, even in our own careers, we now need to start building resilience beyond what we have. We have employees in all these companies losing jobs. We have companies. Right now, Nigeria is under panic. I don't know if you're following the news, yes? There are almost 10 organizations that are compromised 2 weeks ago. And some of them are private, government, and all that. So we now need to start appreciating that. I think we've listened to a team of experts, and they've given us quite a bit of information. You now also need to remember the fact that the system is up and running doesn't mean that you're safe. You need to ask yourselves, how do you anticipate as you're told? How do you prevent? How do you respond? And remember, resilience is just not about being able to recover, also adapting to all those changes. So to wrap it up again, it takes a village to raise a child. That's an African saying. Hopefully I've not massacred it. Yeah? But it takes a village. The same thing with critical resilience in Africa will not be driven by one department alone. And that's why I'm very glad we have a panel of experts from different areas. Play your role, whether it's M-Pesa, if you see something, report. Whether it's government, report, so that we work together to be able to build that resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, delegates, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
I'm Katun. Nice. A round of applause for our beautiful panel. They've done a great job.
Thank you.
And again, they are the ones standing between us and everybody else is trying to get their lunch. I believe they're trying to get a photo of you.
Or before you leave the stage,
yes,
just a quick photo, gentlemen.
A very quick photo for the panel. Kindly, if you don't mind.
As they do that, we can give a quick lay of the land for what happens after lunch.
Absolutely.
We will be having our breakout sessions, same room. As you can see, 3 different stages. That will be room 1 for purposes of clarity. What has been plenary will be room 2, and on our extreme end is going to be room 3.
Yes, and of course, the auditorium, which is on 2nd floor, the amphitheater actually. The amphitheater is on 2nd floor. That will be room 4. So depending on what it is that you are interested in, from scaling digital skills to industrial academia alignment or identity, privacy, and citizen trust in the digital state, and finally, combating misinformation and AI-driven threats, you know especially where to go. Of course, you can find all this information on the app. If you go at the back of your badge, you can scan and you can see the details of all the events and especially where it is that you need to be.
We'll also be having that particular QR code put up on screen for you to use as well. So once you have that up on screen, you can use that to download that particular app and get all the details on the event as far as that's concerned. We're inching closer to lunch, so now we know where we're going to be coming back after lunch.
Yes.
The golden question is, where is lunch being served?
Lunch is on 7th floor and they're ready for you.
Okay, so we take a quick break for lunch. Back at 2:45 as we get into our breakout room. So once again, room 1, room 2, and room 3 right there.
And then room 4 is the amphitheater on 2nd floor.
Okay, let's have lunch. See you at 2:45. Good afternoon.